another episode of the Relief Podcast. Today, my guest, Andreas Makris. Andreas, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Demetri. I really appreciate it.
I'm very grateful. It's been a long time coming to have this conversation where we get to know each other, right? Where, you started the episode by just the classic I had reference of bringing coffee and water, right? So that means that there's no end to this conversation. So as long as you feel comfortable. Let's begin with share with the audience a little bit about you, how you grew up, family dynamic, and what you do today.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. So I grew up with a Greek family, grew up in a Greek family, Greek culture. Father came here when he was 16, met my mom here, and they're happily still married together currently, which I'm so proud of them. And during that upbringing, there was a lot of obstacles and challenges that both my parents faced. And as being sons of the Makris family, there was a lot of demand from us, holding us to a high standard. There were challenging times. Very, it was a lot of celebrations. We knew how to celebrate and enjoy life. I have to say one thing that I'm very proud of being Greek is that during the era of my childhood, the Greek culture, the Greek community in the Philadelphia area was very passionate about enjoying life, working very hard, and staying close-knit was very impressive. So I'm very proud to be a Greek American in today's world or today's society, and I learned a lot of things growing up in the restaurant business. Learned a lot of things about customer service, how to manage, how to deal with different personalities, how to problem solve on the fly. There was a lot of ups and downs in the restaurant industry, which really formulated and created who I am today. And I'm happy to say that because of all those experiences that I faced at the early age of working in the restaurants and diners, while everybody was working, my brothers and I were all working on the weekend while everybody else was playing. Because in the Greek family, you got to work, you got to hang out, right? And they taught us how to earn our dollar. So it was really amazing. And again, from all those experiences, I wound up buying a moving and storage company 10 years ago. I still currently have it. Got into the self-storage industry, being an owner-operator, and also being a self-storage broker currently. And, have experience in the commercial real estate and residential world. So, many different avenues. Now that I'm 42 years old, I'm strictly primarily focused and learned that in today's age, you want to focus and be very narrow, focus on what you want to excel in. And I want to become the specialist in the self-storage industry. So that's the path that I'm going forward with.
Now, storage is I was, again, as the outsider.
Yes.
Okay. I see storage as a systematic business. Mm-hmm. It's dollars and cents. It's pay your bill and we're cool.
Yes.
Right? Respect our rules, bring in things that make sense and don't bring in things that don't make sense, and we're all right. Now, you're late on a bill, you're going to get a reminder. Please pay your bill. Maybe you forgot. Maybe there's this card issue.
With the fee.
With the fee. Okay, there you go. Okay, because there should be a penalty.
Right.
Within reason.
Yep.
Hey, you're late.
Usually it's
$15. Okay. So, because there's an admin cost too.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just you're late, please pay up. It's now in trouble to remind you, please pay. Right. Now in trouble that you might not pay at all, which leads to a second notice. And then by the time the third notice comes, there's a special lock that goes on the door.
And that costs something.
Right.
Yeah.
So now you get to the point where you have storage wars.
Yes.
Right. And so what is your process of unloading the assets of people who don't pay up?
Don't pay. Well, I'm blessed to say I'm very fortunate it doesn't happen that often.
Okay.
And when it does happen, when everybody watches that TV show, Storage Wars,
sure.
Everybody thinks that most of the units that are left behind that are not paid or people are delinquent in paying, that there's going to be a gold mine or some golden treasure that's going to be found in there.
Right.
And 99% of the time, that's not the case. It's usually all junk, right?
Yeah.
So typically how the process works is that, somebody's late their first month, payment, they're late, they still haven't paid. They'll get a reminder 2 weeks after, right? And then usually what will happen is that another reminder will go out the third week, right before the next month. The second month, they'll get a reminder. And then what will happen is that once that person has become 2 months late, and as far as we're making the payment, we will then send out a notice to them saying that they have, this is going to be their first notice, and then they have up to 2 weeks to collect and pay up to due current status so that they don't go to the foreclosure or auction status, right? So then the auction status, they have to get another certified letter out to them 2 weeks after the first one. And then after that process, we will then schedule a date. And there's a certain process by the state, and each state usually complies to it, that you have to then put it in the local newspaper when that auction date be. Then you have to have like an auctioneer there. And they go through all the legal parameters to make sure that you're compliant with the whole clean-out process. Right. And then we have an auction date. So usually within 3 months of somebody not paying, they're going to be out. Whereas I love that because being in the multifamily space before, when somebody doesn't pay, the system is usually in favor of that. And it can take a year, 2 years to get somebody out that's not paying. And they're still not paying, right?
That's right.
And then what happens is that you have one apartment. So I like to put it in this perspective. You have one apartment, let's say that rent for that 2-bedroom apartment is $1,800 a month, right? You calculate that over 12 months, or maybe you're talking 10 and 12. Let's say, let's go anywhere from, let's say, 30,000, right? So we'll say it's going to be close to 30,000 of rent on one unit, right? And then you have a storage unit that they don't pay $200, right? So your chances of losing 12 months of rent on a storage unit, the only way that'll happen is that as an owner operator, you're lazy doing the eviction process, right? If you're lazy, then people are going to ride you out as long as they can. But you have 3 months that you could possibly lose, and then you could advertise that while you're getting that unit cleaned out within those 3 months, you can advertise it, get a waiting list, and then once that spot is cleaned out, you get somebody to move right in, right? And you don't have to paint the walls, you don't have to check the plumbing, change the bathroom sink, or any of that nature. You just sweep up and move right back in. So it's just so much less headache.
When you take the hardship of people to court, you're playing emotional, the emotional set.
Yeah.
Right. And whether they be legit or not, right? You as a landlord, as a property owner who takes all the risks to have this investment in difficult times, right? You're taking that chance, and you need to have some kind of return so that you can feed your family. Right?
And pay for that investment.
Exactly. And keep it going, right? Because it's an asset to the community. It puts taxes in schools, right? It feeds the essential services, right? So you don't want this asset to go barren and go vacant. Because a lot of times as investors, we take these vacant assets and we make them habitable, right?
Yeah, we improve it.
Right. And as a landlord, in my own story, like you said, the last few years, I've been gentle. Whether you go to court or not, I choose not to because I knew the hardships of others. Once you go to court, they get automatic rights and more time to not pay.
Yeah.
Right? And then they'll claim victim defenses that aren't valid, but are still heard in court. Right? Where you are, these are objects. They have no emotional value.
Well, to the customer, there's a lot of emotion.
Well, if they did, they could pick them up and take them home.
Oh, of course.
Right?
Of course.
You still have time. Even when you're late, you can still take the essential things that you don't want anymore and literally leave the trash can, as you said.
Yeah.
Because I bought once, it was, I think, the Easy Storage Company. Right? And they didn't have an open bid. It was more of a write your highest bid.
Yeah.
And they'll just take that and call you if you're the highest. So for $300, I got a 10 by 13 filled with construction materials, right? I ended up donating half the locker to Habitat.
Okay.
And I sold some of the rest. I used some of the rest, and then I couldn't keep the rest. I just told them, I said, I'm sorry, I can't keep the rest. They're like, all right, fine. The next person will take it. That's fine.
Yeah.
But, people they do end up losing money because in the past, they used to have that 57 Chevy or something classic in the corner because you saw it, and then you saw it on a TV show. And you're expecting that every locker that you open is going to have something good in it, but it's literally trash, right? And a lot of places in your industry, you offer the first one free or cheap. So it's just an excuse to bring in your trash.
Correct. That's all it is. Because it's the only business that I know of, that I'm aware of. You want them to come in one time, put their stuff in, and never see them again, right? It's the only business, right? Where you have them come in one time, put their stuff. What business do you know that you want them to come in at one time, and then they put everything on autopilot? They put their payment on autopilot. Everyone that gets hit, their stuff is there, and you don't want them to come back. And that's how most clientele, they put it there, and they don't access it for years. 50% of my customers at my facility have been there for over 7 years.
So what do you attribute that longevity?
Well, it really, what it comes down to is that when people look at the energy, right? So there's the cost of energy, right? When you move something, right? So what happens is that people in their head will say, okay, well, when they get all that stuff and however they got it to transport it to that facility to store it, right? That energy, the stress of all that, what it took them to get there. What happens is why people stay there is because they contributed the energy that they had spent to do it versus what it cost them on a monthly basis to keep it there, right? So what happens is that they moved it. If they wanted it out of their eyesight, but they wanted to hold on to it. And it's not worth them going there to grab it, to move it somewhere else. Number one, if it gets more expensive, right? Unless it goes up even more, the price goes absurdly high. But a lot of times it's just that energy to go do anything with it. People just are sentimental to a lot of things. There's no value, there's no price tag to it. So people just like to hold on. And a lot of times we see that, just people hold on to things. And then, God forbid, if somebody passes away, usually the family that takes over that unit just trashes everything.
They have no attachment.
There's no attachment.
What their parents had.
Correct.
Or what they attached memories and meaning to.
Correct.
Most of the next kid looks at that and says, where am I going to put that? Or then it becomes clutter, right? And like you talk about energy, you need to have free-flowing space.
Correct.
Right? And store things maybe temporarily as you need it.
As you need it. But, a lot of times people think they start off with the game plan that's only going to be there for a few months. That winds up being there for a few years.
So do you look at this as just, because in the last many decades, consumerism.
Yeah.
Right? American, and yet we are first generation, both of us, first generation Greek Americans. As you mentioned, you're from the kids over 16. Mike came over at 23. Both super hardworking. There's those restaurants. My father services the restaurants, right? And with a stellar reputation, still does it. He's in the 70s, he's still working. In fact, we're going to be working later today on the renovation because you can't stop, right? And we went to Greeks. I literally and you can tell, I think you can relate, even if we don't know each other too well, but we know each other's story.
Correct.
As Greek Americans and how we grew up in these hardworking families, right? It was like boot camp.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you don't feel like waking up. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Like, these things are life lessons. You think they're verbal abuse, but it's not.
Correct.
Right? It's all about your perspective. You grow up and say, you know what? Other people talk meaner, right? But this, which means few words is better, goes super far.
Correct. I agree 100%.
Right? But then there's a cost, right? When you work overdrive so far, I mean, you say yes to the customer and up to your family. It does go a little far.
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, there's no normalcy. I would say there's no balance, right? When people talk about working with family, because I'm getting involved in working with family and then dealing with your business and then dealing with your customers and then your employees. what I've known and what I grew accustomed to is that we get so attached to our business, right? We get so attached. We give everything that we got to our business, to our employees. And a lot of times we forget about our family, right? And it was something that I grew up, right, as business was number one, right? Because it supported the family, right? It took care of the family, paid the bills.
Yeah.
It took care of, the vacation, right? The trips, wherever you wanted to go. That's what supported everything. So we idolized, work was first, right? And I totally agree with that. But what happened as I grew up, that I learned that there's more to life than work, right? And two is that your family, there's this perception that people think that you can't have it all. And when I say, this is something I learned over the weekend because I went to a conference, is that you have this perception that either you work really hard, and yes, you have to sacrifice things, right? But one of the things that you don't have to sacrifice is your family, right? Yeah, you can sacrifice going to an event. You can sacrifice going out to dinner with friends. You can sacrifice meeting up to go to a basketball game. You can sacrifice those things. But when it comes to family, you don't have to sacrifice, right? What I always learned is also, too, your customers, truly good customers, understand, right? Good people that you are like-minded with. And unfortunately, we're not always blessed to be around like-minded people all the time. So there's always going to be differences in views. But what I found out in business with like-minded people do understand about that family comes first, right? So family should be first, business is second, right? If you switch to two, right, you still can, and what I'm starting to learn is that when you put family first, then work, right, your work will become more successful when family's first, right? Why? Because you got to look like this. Why do you work so hard?
Purpose.
What's your purpose in life, right? And usually, if you're not married, you have kids, and you still have purpose. Your purpose is, you want to make your family proud, right? You want to make your family proud. So, family, from my experience, since I've been 42, family should be first, work is second. Because everything else, when family's first, you take care of yourself, you take care of your family, everything else underneath will follow through.
It's like putting that oxygen mask, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, well, I'm red, father's good, mother's good. Again, maybe we don't always get along on things, but at least the basics are covered.
Correct.
Right? Your shelter, your health. Are you going to the doctor? Am I calling you? Are we nice about it? Right? Because a lot of times, as Greeks, we're in our tempers.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Very passionate.
And we're very passionate, right? So as people who've studied personal development, you go advanced I go to advanced, we learn from the best habits and practices of others. How do we go about taking these best practices and then just kind of relating, communicating to the previous generation that doesn't read, that doesn't do it best, that thinks this stuff is a joke? Now, how do we kind of make sense of it?
So in that sense, number one, it starts with us, right? Doing, being the example, right? We tend to sometimes, for me, I can speak for myself, when it comes to speaking with employees or family members or friends, sometimes we try to make them stay accountable. But then sometimes we're out looking in the mirror and saying, am I accountable? Because if I tell you to do this, am I actually doing it?
Oh, yeah. If you're not doing it,
well, how can I expect somebody else to do it if I'm not?
Look at the Lancet sheet.
Correct. So it all starts with us, right? So being the leader in what you should do. And then from there, I figure it all follows through from there, right? Because when you actually do what you're preaching, you actually do it. People feel it. They can tell the person that's being the BSer versus the actual doer, right? When you actually do it, you can feel it. You can actually sense that from the person that just talks the talk and walks the walk with it. So that's what I've learned, and I think that's the biggest thing. I think that the younger generation really needs to really not be afraid. I think there's a lot of fear out there. I think they're promoting a lot of softness towards especially boys. And I feel like we need to, as a community, both men and women, need to step up and not be afraid and really strive to unite, to really keep ourselves accountable in a good way. I think that, if I truly care, because I think people have this misconception, when somebody tells you something that you should change on, what you need to correct or work on, first, when you hear it, it hurts.
Oh, yeah.
It burns, right? Because nobody likes to be told something that's something that needs to be corrected on. It hurts.
Yes.
But instead of that first reaction of when somebody tells you that and makes you feel that, you should say thank you instead of instead of reacting and getting excited. We should rethink and say, you know what? Thank you for saying that, because you actually truly care about me, even though we may not know each other that much. But by somebody saying that, it really shows how much they care.
It does,
right?
Oh, it really does.
And when I was younger, I didn't understand that, right? But as I get older, I appreciate it. Even, it's still to this day, it hurts. Oh, yeah. Somebody tells me on what I need to work on, it hurts. I mean, especially when it's somebody like my sons. My sons will tell me something that I should work on. I'll give you an example. Okay. Nobody will cry on this one, but I asked my son yesterday, what could I do to be a better father, right? And it's tough, but I told him, and he goes, why are you asking me that? I said, because you and your older brother, you guys moved. So I want you to know that what you guys tell me means to the world. So he goes to me, he thinks for a second, he goes, Dad, there's only one thing that I would ask for you to work on to become the best dad. And he goes, instead of you getting excited or upset when we do something wrong or we make a mistake, he goes, instead of doing that, can we just sit down and talk? And it really got me. And he's 7 years old.
What a breakthrough.
Yeah.
And he's giving you the roadmap how to talk to him.
But the point is, we forget to ask the people that truly need the most to us what we could do better for them. Because we're always asking our customers, our clients, associates, what can I do for you? What can I do for you? What can I do for you? But we forget to ask the people that mean the most to us. Because why am I working so? I'm working for my kids to show them that I want to be the best leader. I want to be the best role for them. That's why I'm doing what I do, because I want to show them that you can achieve greatness. You can always change and better yourself. You never have to feel like this is what it is, right? You never have to feel like, oh, this is what my path is. No. You want to change it? Put the work in. Change. Whatever you want to do. So, that really sparked something in me when I heard it. And usually I ask my sons that, because I try to do one-on-one time, because we spend a lot of time, but, I remember as brothers, we like to have one-on-one with our father. So I wanted to do that for my kids and usually ask that. And they always come back with some creative things that I could have improved on. And that one yesterday really got me.
I think that's the question that a lot of parents need to ask themselves, what they could do better, but to have that openness with their kid and humility too, right? Because, I didn't realize until maybe more recent years that my father's human.
Yeah.
Right? And your father's a human too, right? He's not just some towering figure all around him that throws thunder and lightning and yells at you. It is somehow called love.
Yeah.
Right? Hey, what was missing here? You're like, a hug, a little bit of understanding. You're like, but did it make you strong? Right? Are you resilient and able to endure anger? Right? Because imagine where we came from, right? We came from a culture that's been not just imitated, but stomped on, usually eliminated, right? People of use, it'll be decimated to nothing, right? It's good. And we're the descendants, right? So we owe it to our ancestors, not just the next generation, but the previous generation. To say, you know what? those unfulfilled dreams that you couldn't have because you're slaughtered or enslaved or limited, we're going to take that burden on our back. Happily, we get to do this. I mean, we have to do this, right?
Correct.
And so we inspire not just people in our culture. That's a whole thing that we need to spearhead, is that, hey, if you're in the Greek culture, it's okay to celebrate your wins. No one's going to throw the mat up. And if they do, call me. Yaya's still with us and should clear them out. It's these limitations we tell ourselves. And I went to Chios, where my great-grandfather started the citrus farm with that, right? And pulled him off the circus wagon where the client comes first. Where it's that Ben Marine goes down and that walking box is at 35 degrees and it's Sunday. I'm not going to go to church with my family, right? So how many times as a kid grow up not seeing, and we know about, so where's your dad? He's at work, and he actually is at work.
Yeah.
Like, he's not watching golf. He's not sitting there stretching his butt, right? He's doing something all the time, right? And so then the only way I connect with my father, maybe in the way you too, is to work.
That's it.
All right? Be 6 years old, in my own story, carrying the pool bag, going on the roofs, getting paid. But the hell, someone's going to make you some food. Okay, you worked all day, right? And you've got your shoes, and now they're on the roof, and now they're dirty. But that's okay. You get over it, right? You don't hold on to things for long because you look at the sternness, right? Of our father. You know what? Where's their excuse? They don't really have much of an excuse other than the work has to get done.
Yeah.
Right. And so that service standard has to kind of hold true with us, but with a more understanding flair. Where, hey, we understand that not everybody with us.
Correct.
And not everyone needs to become us, right? But at least hold some things in common that we can work together. And so building that emotional resiliency is strong, not just for us, but like you said, for the kids. To say, you know what, life's going to throw you a lot of this.
Oh, definitely.
And you're not always going to be right next to them to save the day, right? So, those strong lessons are going to carry them through these times. And like, there's people like, if you ever get to read Stefan Armeo, he's not with us anymore, but he wrote 10 Commandments of Negotiation. He wrote, and then that really powerful, almost in the Bible, how, good times create weak men, right? And now weak men, create hard times, and then hard times create strong men.
Yeah.
Right. So we're in that phase now where we're in this kind of tumultuous cycle where people might have to declutter. They not come up with the money to pay for your units, right? So then you have to project in future demand, right? Like, so where do you see things trending based on recent?
Well, right now in the self-storage industry, things have slowed down just because of the interest rates for housing, right? So it kind of goes ebb and flows with moving its storage. And people buying and selling their houses. So, the demand will always be there. People are always going to self-storage. The reason being is because, again, we are such a large part of the consumer process of consuming things. So we are the largest nation in this world that consumes so much. And without our consumption, I think that it would be in big trouble, economically over the world. So I see right now self-storage, it's kind of hit its peak in the sense of the demand, the excitement about self-storage. 7 years ago, not everybody knew about self-storage. When I say that as far as for an investor, okay? As far as for consumer, people always knew about self-storage. There's more and more competition. And as competition, the bigger companies, the REITs, Public Storage, Life Storage, Extra Space, Cheap Smart, these companies are moving in, and again, hurts somebody like me because they're able to come in, cut prices, they slash prices. They'll make it seem like the person that's going to be running a storage unit for, let's say, 40% less than what I charge, but then in 3 months they jack it up 250%.
Oh, so it's a big switch.
Correct. And it works. And that's why they do it, right? Because again, the cost of energy, right? So somebody that's going to put their stuff in.
They need an incentive to move, right? And so they offer a deep enough incentive that it tickles their fancy. They leave you an established place where like you said, you address their needs, and you stand apart in many ways. So where does an independent operator like you kind of, stand apart from the big name?
Big name. So we're very transparent. So when we onboard clients, new clients, we let them know that this is the rate. And 3 months from now, 4 months from now, it's not going to jump up 200%. We tell them what to expect every year. That expect a 3 to 6% increase in your order. Okay. We like to set the expectations, and that's what separates us from the larger REITs or in the larger investment groups, is that they won't. They're just going to offset you with, I think it's called like the bait and switch, where again, I'm $50 for 5x10. They go and say they're $15, and then 3 months later, that $15 goes to $70. Now it's $70, and I'm $50, but that customer goes $20 more. I'm not going to take it out because it's old. But that company made out because now they got a customer and they're getting $20 more.
So it's more profitable. So it fits their spreadsheet, hits their bonus model better.
Right.
And you're out a customer, right? And then you'll replace that customer because you're an honest business person, right?
But the barrier, right, is, with the way that online consumption is right now with online consumer, less and less people want to talk to an actual person. So because of that trend, less and less people want to talk. How do you relay that message? How do you say that your rate is not going to get jacked up? And, do they really care? And it's all about convenience. People want convenience. People don't want to talk to you. How do you make it so easy for them? Right. And again, people are willing to pay the price. And what I've learned, being the cheapest is not the best.
Right.
It's not. It's such a mentality that some people get caught up into, is that they think, if I'm the cheapest, I'm going to attract. Whether nowadays, what I've learned is no matter if you're the cheapest or the most expensive, what separates somebody is the journey, that customer experience journey, right? How easy, how seamless is that journey? And whoever makes it the easiest, painless, least amount of stress, that's the customer that's going to go with that company that makes it the least stressful.
Just like when you broker a transaction, there's a lot of egos.
Oh, so many egos.
And you go about managing it all and just kind of marching forward. Like you said, let the criticisms, let the delays and excuses roll off your back like duck, water off a duck back. And how do you just keep marching forward and saying, all right, closing is in 2 months. We're doing these steps. And if anything fails, here's what we're going to do. Like, do you kind of frame it ahead of time, or do you just take on challenges as they come?
No, we usually, we give an expectancy timeline of what it looks like from signing of the letter of intent, carry out the closing, lay out the guidelines and timeline. And we're always prepared for anything else, right? And one thing I've always learned in business is that as long as you've done everything you could do, don't get stressed out, because my job is to solve problems. My job is to look for a potential problem. And what I've learned is the more calm you are, the more focused you are, the more grounded you are, you're able to catch these things that you're able to see something happening that may, let's say, if you caught it now, it's not a problem right now. As long as you caught it right now, it's not a problem. Versus if you are so out of tune and you're not staying calm and you're not staying grounded, you would overlook it. And then all of a sudden you come, and then all of a sudden a real estate transaction, people don't realize a real estate transaction can be perfect all the way up until day 119, right? And then 120 is supposed to be the closing. So if we do 30 days due diligence, 60 days closing, right? Everything can go great. And then 119, right the day before closing, something terrible. Right? Right? Something. People don't understand that because somebody gets PSA signed doesn't always work out. It's my job to foresee and catch it beforehand. And also, I have to be a mediator. I have to solve previous problems because I am hired. Why? Because when a buyer and seller are in a transaction, sometimes emotions get in the way. And my job is to clear that path and to make sure that emotions are laid out, steered away, read through those emotions, and then help the buyer and the seller come up with it, right? How to get, I'm here to guide. I'm here to educate. That's my job. Right? And that's what I love. I love to guide, educate, and if there's any challenges, that's what I'm there for. I'm here to fix it. You know? It's great. I think that in every service business, because I feel like it's a service business, you're there to provide relief. Relief. That's what I'm here for. Because without you, without a program, stressed out. That's what we're here for. We're here to provide relief. Here we go. And the relief, let's say for that mom and pop owner that might have owned that storage facility 30 years, but would like to do something else with their lives. Really? Right? And then you'd help plant, and that's the whole point, because a lot of times these mom and pop owners, they're attached to their business and will have to get amazed. You know, I have many of stories where, a seller was in their 80s looking to exit and find the right buyer, well qualified. The buyer and seller agree on the price, and then all of a sudden the seller starts to have the mirrors. What if I sell, what am I going to do to myself? Well, I don't know what to do. And, it's my job to kind of bring it back in. What's your goal? You want to enjoy yourself. You're going to go to Florida. You want to enjoy the rest of the life that you have. So this is my job. My job is to make sure that, going in, everybody's expectations are clearly heard, understood. It's my job to keep everybody in line. It's a beautiful thing. It is stressful, but, I think that anything in this world that you care and you put your effort into, it's going to have a little stress. Right? I think that's the challenge.
And pressure goes by.
Yes.
And they think about it. They say that he's falling just to make a nice fire. We can have something that lasts.
Right.
And, when you build huge successful relationships, it's not just the one kind of thing then. It's just like in the diner, you could have dollar specials breakfast and not the full good door. Once you get rid of the special, they're gone. Why? These are chased twice. Yeah. They're not worried about value.
Well, when you look at your bank, when you look at the register, and when you do your expenses, you can be like, I did all that for that.
Well, in the past each year that people would try to boost up the film business. So yes, maybe they come in, they buy something else, hopefully, but they'll come back again. And you're like, no, just welcome them in. And when we're over, they give them something extra, right? And I would hear techniques. So, this pie's are going to be too old. So maybe give them another slices. Yeah. Right? And then you use two products all the same thing. Or you start on your own things that it didn't cost much. But, if you ever share the book to read the book, Unreasonable Hospitality, it goes over this entrepreneur, Will, who took over just place for 11 hours apart. And that kind of service standard, like our pleasure to serve you, right? It's not just on the Greek cup, but it's inside our DNA.
Yeah.
Right? That we serve, right? Not just philoxenia, right? Service of non-Greeks, not us, but philoxenia, which is, hey, sometimes somebody comes in and, hey, I'm have to do that. Boy, that. Now, don't tell me here every day, every 3 hours for more, but I can help you, right? And that's what my grandfather did. And he came up and helped the niche us. So now we're to do as well. Correct. Or in the service business, if you're helping an old person from church, and you know they'll extend costs, and let's try it. They want to slip a 20 instead of what it should be $300 service charge. And it'll be accepted, and they're happy that we gave you something. Correct. Right? So there's a lot of nuances in our culture, right? And as a Greek person, sometimes, they'll say, oh, the bill comes, and there's a war over the bill. Yeah. Right? Talk about that. Why do Greek people fight over the check?
So there's 2 reasons. That's what I've learned.
Tell me.
So 2 reasons what it comes down to is that either A, they truly love you. They truly love you so much.
Yeah.
And when they want to show you how much they love you by putting the check. The other option, D, where it is, I took it at what my perception was, is that they want to show you how successful they are.
Oh, like a show-off thing.
Correct. So those were the 2 ways that I took it.
Yeah.
Because I sensed 2 different feelings when it happened, right? And I think that people can relate when you do it from the art, right? You would see the generosity, see the ugly, and I still do it to this day. It's with the family members, with good friends, when I walk in, I'll give the server the credit card up front.
You got to step up
because I have a friend Gus Pascalis, from Estia, and he's a really good serving.
Yeah, Pietro's, every correct.
Yeah,
and that
great.
Yeah, the restaurant.
Elmira. Yep, and shout out to him and congrats.
And he's a leader in his category.
Yeah,
and he studied.
We went to Johnson World.
You went to that school.
We were roommates.
You started. You went to follow.
Yeah,
Paris Pat's in the restaurant. Then you just rub off and say, "Look, that's not for me."
Yeah.
Because so this is funny, right? I go to a comedy show, right? And the comedian goes around and says, "Okay, what's your story?" "Oh, you're Demetri." "Oh, you must be Greek. So you own a restaurant, right?" He says, "No. Hey, just because I'm Greek doesn't mean I own a restaurant." "Well, what do you do?" And sometimes I work with my father. So it's like we're typecast, right? And you're like, oh, you can only be one type of person. But now, mind you, going back in Greek history, in the 50s and such, that was the only kind of job Greek people washing dishes, right? And they're working their way up to order the cook, full chefs, owning the place.
Well, going into the stereo, how I deviated from the restaurant business is different.
Yeah.
Well, what happened was, as I grew up as a kid, my father, you'd be like, "Oh, what do you want to do with your life?" And I would always say something like this. And my father would be, "I want to remind you, we're Greek, and Greek's only good for a few things." And he would be this way. We would say, diners,
So scary.
diners, pizza shops, and diners.
Oh, okay. Well, at least
right?
Go for a pizza shop.
And he goes, "You catch my drift?" And I would be like, "There's more." So when my father used to say that, when I was younger, I didn't get it. I didn't understand. I was like, why my dad? As I got older, I started to realize, right? When we're scared, and as a parent, you do, and you give advice to what you do. And you give advice on the safest path for your kids and for your friends. The advice that you did initially is for the safe,
right,
the path that you went down and received. And what I learned was, in this journey of life, everybody that tells you the path that you should take is not the path that you should ever take. It's the path that you get lost in. Because when everybody tells you what you should do, they're all telling you what they would. And our life, we forget this life is a journey. So the life is meant to make mistakes. You have to try different things. How could you expect an 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 20-year-old, 21-year-old to know what you should do? Our parents, they had no choice. They didn't have an option. The option was, I got to make money, right? And I totally respect that, because my dad could have made excuses. My dad could have said, he did. He said he tried mechanic. He tried with, work at HVAC. And he just said he saw the opportunity in private. He said that's where he thought he could make the most money, because that's what he thought he could do. He didn't realize that he put a ceiling, because everything that my dad achieved, he didn't realize how smart he was. He didn't realize. And I think that a lot of people that come from our country, right, especially in that era, they had put a limit. They didn't realize how much potential they had.
Yes.
And that ceiling flowed into their kids.
Yeah,
right. So we hear that belief that we're not capable of doing extraordinary. But I feel proud to finally realize to say, you know what? These are all things that you don't realize growing up. You're learning it without somebody telling you that you're learning. There's so many things in our environment that we surround ourselves. That's why when you hear these influencers, successful people, and they say you have to surround yourself with them people because you become who you surround yourself. You surround yourself, you adapt their beliefs. You adapt their views, their opinion. Right? So it's so important growing up to realize these things and to realize that if you want to grow, you want to be better, it's really up to you. And it really all depends on who you're showing yourself. Because all I can tell you is that a lot of people that I used to talk to and don't talk to anymore, not because I don't know them. I love them.
Yes.
It's just I take in a different path in life. And that path of life is no resistance. I don't set no boundary on myself. I'm capable of doing anything I want to do. The only person that's stopping me is myself.
Oh, no, you're not doing it, right? And I could say similar things myself. Like that people I grew up with in church, or with the Christian with. So, they hung out with for years. They think it'd be like all pets. And then you're like, wait a minute. First of all, they don't exercise. They don't read a book at all. They don't listen to anything personal development. In fact, if I share something with personal development, they'll make fun of me. They'll call it none like kids. Right? They're going to
do. Why? Well, what do you think you are?
Everything you are, right? And then the limiting belief, right? Don't hold on, I'll make fun of you, right? Oh, this thing is wrong with you. And again, it's one thing if it's for your good. Toilet paper on your shoe, or hey, you can lose some weight, right? That's good. And my aunt, I went to her one day after church. I said, Tia, happy name it, right? Let me pull out. One word response, bashing. You got fat. So like you said earlier, if you get offended, you're like, okay, well, I'm not saying something really consists out of fact. And you know what, you're right. So I just smiled on that. How'd you name it? I see her about a couple months later, more exercise, more fit. I said, Fia, I want to thank you. Level 4. I said, you've called out something I need to address, right? Yeah. And so then I worked on it. That's not, I think you would like to be an attack, but either way, I got better, right? So it doesn't matter. It's the word that comes with some inflection, because sometimes even your enemies point out your flaws.
Correct.
And I pay people to point out my flaws.
Yeah.
So if you can give me that advice for free, thank you. That's
right.
Thank you. Right? It's gratitude. Right? It's knowing that you still have something to improve on. Right? Like you said, whether it's, humbling yourself to your kid. You say, hey, how do I get along with you better? Right? And I want this to get along good. Right? I'm your guide. I'm your, whatever we need to be. I'm going to be that for you so that you can grow and be a strong you. Right? Not meaning you. Not pick up your part of just didn't, unless they want. Right? If they want to do they want to go into real estate?
I don't really like to talk. Like my oldest son, he loves business. He loves car washes.
So he wants to be in business himself.
Wants to be in business, definitely with car washes. I don't like to push my kids and kind of persuade them doing what I do. Because again, I think that in their life's journey, I want to be able to show them what I'm doing and leave it up to them for them to achieve the thing being. Let them know if they can be anything.
No, I like that, because that goes contrary, like you said, to our thought.
Correct.
Which is, hey, this is a good business. Why aren't you want to get it? Right? Now, I got into it because I like it. Not to make him happy. And everyone thinks, oh, it's to make him happy. No, I have the mechanically inclined mind. I can't do just one thing. If I do one thing,
Well, I want to challenge you on this one.
Go ahead.
Do you truly like it?
Sure.
Do you truly like it?
Yeah.
Or in a sense that you really love that business? Or do you really like it? Because it's a part of your father.
Well, I think in like truest heart, I want to honor him. Right?
Okay.
Honor, respect that we provided. Right? They did not work alongside him every single day.
Yeah.
Their life is at some point we'll butt heads. Let's not go to business. Right? But in terms of a respectful relationship, I think that's what we still. I like the idea of, like you talked about, offering comfort. Right? A lot of times in the trades, as you mentioned before with other places, in these large companies, right? That entities event. Yeah, I learned from one of the leaders in the business who sold for a lot of money. This is not dollars and cents. Customer service is a script. It's, hey, if I talk this way and use these NLP patterns and use this relationship technique, we get more sales in 1 meeting. And by the way, we tripped the chart. And I brought that to one of these trainers, right? And he's like, people won't pay this, right? I said, well, they need to pay more than what they're paying, like what you're charging too little. Yeah. I said, you're undercharging. You think you're on the worth so much. You are worth more.
You're stuck in 1980.
And I've had other Greek people who do the business tell him, and that slowly walks in. Because, again, maybe you agree with our circle that sometimes a piece of advice that we share to our circle won't be taken, but somebody else who we don't know tells them the same thing, and they run with it.
Oh, of course.
Well, I'm okay with it now. Before it used to bother me. Now I'm like, all right, look, as long as you get better, as long as you take the advice and it helps you, go for it.
My favorite part about that was my dad was to give a piece of advice to my dad or to tell him what would be to do. Oh. And it would be the funniest thing. And then my dad would not talk about it for a week. And then the next week, my dad would come up with this miraculous idea that myself or my brother give. And my dad was like, oh, this is what we're going to do. This is the idea that I thought of. And it always made you laugh, right? It always made you laugh. Because, and why that happened was, my dad is hearing. And it would always bother one mind how my dad would listen to an outsider. Right? But in business, I learned what is that when you're in your business, you're sometimes stuck running it. And having an outsider, hearing an outsider is what we all need.
Yes.
Right? So even though that you have an insider telling you what you need to do,
right,
you just, for some reason, as a business owner, you're not listening because you want to hear that. But what I learned is, without me saying it, if that outsider would have said it and I never said it, I don't think my dad would have changed it. Right? So that's how I look at it now. Man, my word did mean something. I was just looking at it the wrong way. I would get upset and say, man, why didn't you listen to me? But actually, but we're talking about it. My dad couldn't listen. So he just needed a show.
Yes.
Because if I'm speaking for the customer, I'm not pressing it. But if I say this is what the customer wants and this is what the customer needs, and then it's your control, then, it's supposed to be right.
You can't argue with it now.
Right? But at that time, I didn't, my view was, I was viewing it so wrong, but then I really didn't make that. Now that I look step out of it, right? But when you're in that moment, you think that nobody's listening.
And you want to be, so as a person, you want to be heard.
Yeah.
Right? And so a lot of times it's great. It's like, hey, just toughen up. Hey, it's man hard. Yeah. Get over it. Hey, you can't have a bad day. What's wrong with you? Right? I'd like to talk about it, but then you beat me up some, right? And so you deal with it in other ways, or you don't deal with things at all, and then they resurface back, right? And so then there's people in our circles, the communities, where you're like, yeah, didn't have anyone to talk to, let me get some bad decisions, there's a chain coat. Right? And so then you're like, that's not AA for me, because that's an empty vote. You feel good for a moment, you had a bad choice, from concept, right? And mistakes are expensive, right? And we need capital to live, not just live to make investments. Yeah. People can talk all day long about no money down, but you still need clothing. And, when I, growing up, there's a large value system that you learn from the father. And a lot of times I thought that, with the Sovietical mentality.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't know that it's affected my father as well. But when I reconnected with a cousin, he's basically almost under, right? I never had a brother. I was wished for one, but I kind of have one now in my cousin. Okay. If I didn't hang out in November many times at cafe, having affordable meals, right? 46 euros for two people to have a big thing with no clothing time. I go to the local village event I've been out for 27 years, but then Alpha. I'm like, theoretically, and they're with 10 people. They're like, whenever you want to leave. I don't think any of your flight, you might have had a 24-hour place at one point, but you know.
Thank God we did not.
You never did? Alexander's never was?
No, thank God. I was like, no, we had a pitcher bar.
Okay.
It was open until like 2 o'clock in the morning, but you wouldn't leave till like 3:30 in the morning. And then be there 6 o'clock in the morning for breakfast.
You close and open?
Sometimes we had this.
So how do you endure that? Like, because there is no break. There's barely time to go to bed. So barely time to even go to parts where already the money you make.
Yeah.
Like, so how do you kind of slow down, step back, and say, I have to, plug myself in, and you store my house, and not just go full hard, in this business, serving people, serving customers, like making money, but that's not feeding me.
It's a good question. And I think that, that's one of the reasons why is because everything has a solution, right? It's a matter of, number one, do you have the right team? You have the right process, and then from there, can we pull it? And then keeping track and how much are you willing to indulge in, right? How much are you willing to give yourself, right? Yeah. Because what I learned of this is that, you got going back to my friend Guess.
Yeah.
Right? And when I say that for the amount of restaurants that we have, okay, and they have the tea, they have it, it still takes a lot of effort and energy, right? And everybody has their limitations. Everybody has their capabilities. And the biggest thing about learned is you have to know what you're really good at and what you're really bad at, but what you really don't want to do. And you figure out all those things that you're really good at, what you're not good at, but you don't want to do. And then you got to kind of like say, okay, well, all these things that I wrote down, what's the best pack? Have them blow show. And how I look at it is, what's my risk and reward? What is my potential? Because again, breaking my barriers and what I think I can do, it's locking at it every day. And what would I do if I could have this opportunity again? I don't think I'd change it when I do different. I would take the same path, because my path was always to try something different, right? Because one thing growing up in the Greek family was, we were told one way, and that's the way to do it, because it worked for them. But when you get older and we get more educated, more knowledgeable, we learn that there's 1,000,001 ways to skin a cat, right? We're just told to do it this way because it's easier, because that's what they did. That's how they knew how to measure it, right? If I do it this way, and because they told us to do it this way, they would know, okay, how to measure it, if you're doing good or not doing good, and where you needed to fix this at so that you could go forward, because that's all they knew, right? Is their way. That was their formula, their way, right? So when we get older, it's scary to see your kids do something that you have no idea about. You don't understand it, and you don't know the path. And then you get scared and you tell your kids, don't do that. Don't do that. Because they don't know the path. They're scared. And they look at us. They would look at, my dad would look at me like I was a rebel. And my family, my dad, I think I created so much stress for my dad, because my dad would look at me and say, why are you making your life harder when I already laid out the path?
So he bared the heavy burden of starting some establishment, okay? And running them well and getting them going. So then all you have to do is walk in and just speak bottling with the funnel.
But as a parent, as I get older now, and I had much better conversations with now than when I was younger, was that when you grow up as a father and you have kids, you're hoping, some of us, not saying all of us, but you're hoping, and my father was hoping, that we would all be working together. We would build this empire, and it would be perfect. We would have 20, 30 restaurants, and everything would be, the Makris name would be, look at my sons. Right? And in the thing that my dad learned was, in all that journey, it was the way he, not realizing, you have 3 sons. Those 3 sons have 3 separate brains, 3 separate personalities, 3 separate wants and needs, 3 separate desires and goals and everything.
Independent people.
And then all of a sudden, because now he did not anticipate all that, when I saw that in my family that there was going to be because my ambitions, I was shooting always for the meat. I was saying, I'm going to get to that moon. Whereas everybody else was, we're going to go to orbit. We're going to just revolve around her. But that's how far we looked out.
Right.
And I wanted to go to Mars. And I saw that was going to be an issue. So I said, you know what? I'm going to deviate it. And my father took it to heart. It hurt him. Right? But, and again, went back to why am I making my life harder? I didn't look at it like that. I looked like I was just starting to find this. Because to me, when I was looking at the path that my dad was creating slowly, that looked the hardest, most to do it his way the rest of my life would be the hardest thing to do. Because when you feel like you have to do it somebody else's way, live it somebody else's, you're not actually living the life.
It took me a long time to figure out the same kind of, like you said, you're 42. You got one more year on here, 43.
Yeah.
Born in 80. And yeah, it's this idea of, it's in it. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
That's the way you see it. Right? And then, it's all about questions. And like you said about the evolution of the questions we asked. Like the other day, when I asked Ike, I was like, what out? He said, right? So this started to invite some exploration of, hey, why do I have this habit? Why do I have this behavior that's stuck the decades, right? Because, your parents married for decades, so on it, right? 45 plus years. They're not on one day, get engaged, and a year later, I'm dead, right? So everyone's path is different. The traditional family, mom stayed home, right at the household, and dad goes, is the hunter, literally. Yeah. He goes out and we have to as kids and growing up, and you learn all these strong values, and then you say, okay, well, how do I run my own? Because you have to, separate yourself from that. Still maintain the cultural identity, still maintain the beliefs on the faith and on the service to community, but say, it's not. I carry the last name. It's good. It's strong honor, right? That the get an Americanized name, right? It's here Andreas, right? You might have Henry. No, right? And I went to the church of St. And I imagine you have too. They say the Church of St. Andrew in Atlanta. He, what respect we let him crucified. He's like, I take crucified me saying that he's a Jesus that be ushered down with us. And was and very bold, right? And so when we have these names, the same, they mean something. Right? And in Greece, they don't even care about birth. It's all about deity. That's the name day. So you know who to call, who to visit. They might have coffee or a drink or a sweet or something. Talk to the audience with that and how you bring people together could show the name day.
Yeah, and I think that goes to something of value that Ian said was, being in the Greek culture, name days are celebrated more than the phrase. And what does that show you, right? It's something that you're not celebrating ourselves. You're celebrating somebody, right? Essentially. Right? We're celebrating that.
The martyr.
Whereas when you celebrate your birthday, you're celebrating.
Yes. Until it.
But the name day, you're not celebrating yourself. You're celebrating somebody else. And that's one thing that, I feel like we've lost. But getting back to what you're saying about the name days, I think that it goes to show you that, we take a lot of pride in what we stand for, where we come from. And again, we're given a name, carry ourselves a certain way. I'm named after Satan, Demetri, and this is who we are. And I think that, we forget sometimes to take pride in these things and these traditions. I remember I used to get called from 40 to 50 people. Now, maybe I get a few, right? I still get more people calling me on my name day than my birthday.
Yes, it's easier to remember.
Easier to remember, right? And I'm very thankful. Now that I got to 42, I really don't care if everybody says happy birthday to me, because every day I wake up, so I don't need anybody to tell me on this life. Yeah, it's the most important thing, right? So I'm appreciative of that. But the name days, I definitely feel privileged when I talk to people that are not Greek, because when we say name days, what is a name day? Why is it so special? What is that? And I get to tell people, jokingly that I get to have 2 birthdays.
Yeah,
I get to have the birthday and my birthday and then the birthday of Renee. So it's been, you get to really feel special on that day because it's truly that, and everybody puts their feelings in. The people that call you on your name day are the people that love you.
Right. Even if it's like a small text, right? It's
Somebody to think about it.
I thought about you too. Right?
Yeah.
And, a lot of times as men and Greeks, we don't share if we're lonely. We don't share if we're sad.
Oh,
But if someone gives you a little brightness that day, they could make a huge difference, to move that rock. Get some leverage and build momentum, and you don't feel that great. I said, correct. Situations happen. Life hits you, hard. You think it's going to be a sunny day and not a storm.
And like you said, most of us are afraid to talk about it being, right? As you're growing up in the Greek family, we're not allowed to grieve. We're not allowed to cry, especially men. We're not allowed to talk about our feelings. And one thing I can recommend to everybody is that the best thing that you can do is to talk about your feelings. Right? It's the best thing. It doesn't make you any less of a person. And you should have somebody to talk with. And the biggest thing I feel like we're lacking in today's world is meaningful conversation on a daily basis.
Right? Sorely lacking. And we failed to learn how to communicate.
Well, not even just communicate. I think be real, right? Because I think there's a lot of people out there that only talk about the honey, but never want to talk about the vinegar or the salt. And I think that there's a lot of people out there that pretend like everything is great. And I get it. Everybody has their own preference. I'm not saying to talk about all your problems and issues out in public because, again, people will use that against you, unfortunately. But what I'm saying is when you meet somebody face to face, you're there, you have some time with them. People tend not to open up. And I think that's the biggest mistake that they're doing. Because if I meet with somebody, right, and usually I'm this way. If I see somebody that's a little off, I always think, is there anything to talk about? We can keep it confidential between you, and I think more people should be aware of it. But the problem is, a lot of times when we're talking with somebody, and I want to ask everybody this, how many times have you sat down with somebody to have a conversation and they're not there? You want to have a conversation, but they're not fully present.
How do you bring them back to being present?
It's hard because, again, maybe they're dealing with something. Maybe they just went through something before. But far too many times, I try to have conversations with people. People that don't care. Hear what? And you feel this wall. Or you feel like they're not present. And that tends to sometimes feel like they don't. Like we could take that as they care, they want to be somewhere else, whatever it is. And I feel like people are losing that. And I feel like the purpose of meeting somebody is to have purpose, meaningful conversation. And by doing so, that really enlightens you that. Like every time I've had a meaningful conversation with somebody, like even today, it's great, right? Because you feel a sense of it's a weird feeling to say that when you have a meaningful, purposeful conversation, you feel like when we stay it.
Yeah, because we're respecting each other, their struggles and journeys and relatable word that we talked about. And then you're like, you know what? Let's have a fair discussion. I might disagree with something too, right? And that's what I should probably welcome that, because then you can discuss the merits or remove viewpoints and it's it, right? And that's another thing that's lacking is that we fall into these cancel groups.
Yeah.
Right? And as Greeks, right, just go political for a moment. The Democrat Party and that's what it goes the whole way, right? When I first voted, that's how I go. Become political, right? Not think for yourself. Oh, this side will be better for certain. It doesn't matter who's in charge. Doesn't matter who's up the photo op or how they get work on. There's so much each into it. And, you stand for grace, but then sometimes there's problems with that too. So it seemed like a lot of the scholarly Greeks left in the 60s and 70s to build a future for us, so that we can build that future for us. And I think what I truly respect about you and others like you is to be loyalty to our culture. Like a lot of people, again, it doesn't matter what you end up with, because it could be a moderate, but the culture can maintain.
Correct.
The language can maintain. Going to church on a Sunday, well, when it's Easter is coming, right? This first weekend of May. And again, just for the audience, there's Passover, then there's a Palm Sunday, and then there's an Easter. Deliver. I did normal count, but it's not based on this belief in the month. So this year, they created a new holiday. So they're confusing Easter, Western Easter, with some transcendent something, right? Which to us is just a mockery, right? Yeah. But at least we hold our Orthodox tradition, right? So what does it mean to be a Christian? See, like not just a Christian, but a Greek Orthodox Christian. We, believe have very some, and like you said, the saints of our church, and what their inspiration, how that carried you.
So, first off, I need to be a better servant to God. I said in that sense of, getting more familiarized with my culture and my religion. I don't go to church. I do go. And one thing is I pray every day. I pray in the morning, I pray. But, one thing, many things, but the one biggest thing I love about being Greek Orthodox is just the way that we hold ourselves, the pride, the community. I love it, right? I love it. Because one thing is, because I don't go to church frequently, whenever I do, I'm never felt like I missed the way at church, right? And that's what I love about you to be there. That even though I don't go all the time, I do when I do go, I feel like I've been there all the time. Like I never felt like an outsider. Right?
It's a home away from home.
Cool.
And you're always welcome. And the church I was baptized in Elkins Park at last month. They go back and a person like, hey, we're you. Oh, good to see you. Not where you've been. Cool. Right? Because you might hear that where you've been, right? And that might still be coming from a good place too, right? We might just take it wrong. And it might be something wrong with that too, right? So then it's just part of their message. It comes out, the wrong way. We don't fix it rightly. And then mean what?
Correct.
Good, being plugged into such places, having that really bad boxy and that really stale dessert. Eventually there might be some good food, some good fruit, something. Oh, yeah. That's plenty. But it's that conversation with somebody, right? Somebody bringing up something from decades ago, right? That's fun, right? Or even if it's not relevant, you're like, I'm so glad that this person made it, sir. Or I'm inspired by this couple that's been around for 50 years and they're leading, it's their good grandparents. Kids come to church. That's wealth to me. Cool, right? It's not what you drove to the parking lot.
Yeah.
Because growing up, there was that show too. Was what series BMW, what version of Mercedes do you have? And we have the Diplomat edition. This and we got kidding me. That measurement contest among these. Oh yeah, it's ridiculous, right? I never wanted to participate in that. I just found it humorous.
Yeah,
right. That if you went to some club, was the name of rare, right? But then you go to a certain place and this person is behind the velvet rope.
Oh yeah,
that somehow makes them a better person. I looked at the absurdity of it at the time, and I was saying, wait, that's not my priority. It's a priority to work, doing the things and being alive with the causes that align with the value, because you can't go out drinking all night and then go to church and say, well, that.
Even though, that's...
I've done it.
I've done that when we go.
Okay. But I'm saying that's not your daily plan, right? For success. Is that, and, it's a wine. I think Sean said, I think going to
kombucha is my minute.
Kombucha. Okay. Talk to the Greeks what kombucha is, because they won't understand.
So you're going to laugh too. I don't really know what kombucha is.
It's like fermented.
It's for fermented tea. Yeah.
Right.
There's this element,
a SCOBY.
Something. Yep. They put it in water, let it ferment with some tea.
Yeah.
And then
it should digest.
Yeah, it's got a lot of probiotics, a lot of enzymes, and it really, I have to say, I drink that. The little alcohol in it. It has I feel like drinking a beer with maybe or champagne. That the feel, but I have to say that it is something that first when I was introduced to it, I was like, oh, this must be it's like a girly drink.
Yeah.
Right. And then now I drink it once. I drink one every night before I go to bed. And I have to say, it makes me feel wonderful. It's something I look forward to. And again, it's a substitute. I tell people, like, if you don't drink, which again, I rarely ever have a glass of wine or anything. That's my substitute. And I recommend that anybody can substitute it.
I agree with you. I think drinking is bad. I think excessive drinking, like having Dr. Breeze, you hear people who you respect. Yeah. Oh, look, then I'm like, you just push them over. What?
There's stages. There's stages.
Okay.
Some people just do not get out of the stage, right? So when I say it's like, we all grow up. Some of us, we grow up slower or faster.
I mean,
there's stages in it. And I feel like the people that are slow grading, right? They're still stuck at a stage in their life. That already reminisce, right? Too much reminiscing about the past. Right?
Yeah. You're in the down.
And you're not. And how do we need that? That anything when I hear alcohol, that relates to me in my brain. So why do
I go back there? You have to remember that a lot of our songs, the songs. You talk to an American and they say, I'll translate these songs to sound so beautiful. You start translating this.
It doesn't sound beautiful.
Oh my God.
It's butch.
I'm smoking hand-rolled cigarettes or the love of my life lasts.
Yeah.
I have the wealth again.
Yeah.
And go to some of these concerts. And the last big one I went to, the Seatman of the English Capacities, so you're like, oh, it's beautiful. Some of these songs are nice, but others are like, wait a minute. How does make sense? Wait, but you dance to it because the melodies.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I remember those, yeah. Like when I was younger, I didn't remember half of what the single thing, but it would just go with the beat, And it was beautiful, but, those were the good days.
It was, and it's like, so now when you hear this stuff, you go to the festivals, the music, like, you just smile, you get the soundtrack.
Yes.
It's like you said, part of who you are, but in the future, it's like, well, what else could I learn, right? As opposed to the default to the same music, is what his things can I embrace? What his books can I learn? Or who else can I listen to? Right? I want to ask you, what is freedom mean to you?
Freedom is, on a personal level, for me, freedom is being able to be who you are at all times and to be able to speak how you feel, to not be afraid of being who you really are. I think that's the meaning of freedom to me and how I feel towards freedom. I think it's the most powerful thing that we have that we should appreciate and to continue to protect. And keep that going currently. I think that we're being tested right now with the freedom and what freedom looks like and what people think freedom is right now. And I truly am honored to be in this country that we call the United States of America. It's still the best country in the world. And for the people that think otherwise, I truly ask them the question of, why are you still here?
No, man, that's pivotal. I mean,
that's, and I think that if they were to respond, say, well, I know where to go, think about all the people that came from other countries and they came here. Did they have it any better than you?
No. That long boat ride that my dad took in the 50s was uncertain.
Of course.
Right? 10 days of, tumultuous weather. And then you come here to the States where you don't know the language. You don't know anything. And then you learn. You get better. And, that jet that your father took, that my father took, that our grows, right? We always carry that with us.
Correct.
And to me, it's not just freedom of choice, but freedom of life, right? Where you can live, where you can work, how you can work, and who can tell you what to say and do, right? So when you work for yourself, you're able to have that diversity of opinion. Like,
sure.
That's the category of diversity that's not talked about enough. Is to have different opinions, right? As long as we're respectful, all good. The moment we throw names at each other, right? Because people are free-minded normally don't throw names.
Yeah.
Right?
I think it's really important to say this, that because people have different opinions doesn't mean they're wrong or right, better or worse. I think that the most important thing is when you do have something to say, you should say. I think when you don't say something that you truly feel, I think that's probably the worst thing. I think that's wrong for not saying what you feel and having a different view on something. I think it's great. I think that when we surround ourselves with people that are willing to challenge our thoughts, I think it's all perspective. When you surround yourself with the right people and they have the right meaning and purpose towards you, and they're willing to challenge your thoughts, I think that it's something to feel that you should be honored, because that means they're trying to challenge you to grow. And by having different opinions, it forces us to grow. Because, I'm reading a book that's called Rethink, The Power of Rethinking. And it really has opened up my mind to, what I currently think is right. Is it truly right? Is it really the right way? Is it the right way of thinking? Like, it forces me to rethink everything and to really rethink when I disagree with somebody's view. It really forces me to think, what are they thinking? How are they thinking? And it really has opened up how I look at things. And when I listen to people and having differences, I think it's great. I mean, that's who we are. How could we all have the same thoughts, feelings, and opinions? I think that's what makes us a great country, is we have all these different cultures, ethnicities, and what are we? The melting pot. So it's all a bit of little things here and there, cultures, habits, and beliefs, and everybody working together. And I think that we all can learn something from it, especially from the people that are truly the most different from us. I think that's really the biggest takeaway, is to really rethink on what's wrong, what's right, and is it really wrong? Is it really right? And what it means to you. And how, I think we all form opinions sometimes on people that, have different values and different opinions. We form, we're subject to thinking that they're maybe a lesser person or a better person sometimes. But I really learned that it shouldn't be the case. It shouldn't have anything to do with lesser or better. It's just, we have to sometimes look at them and say, maybe that's what they've been through. That's what they.
No, and that takes a lot of evolution to get to the point where we're not just saying, oh, bad, or dismiss, or cancel, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times you might even say something that's wrong. And you're like, all right, so the greater whole, you say 1,000 things that are right and one thing that's wrong. Okay, well, that's all right.
Yeah.
That's all right. You're still a decent person, right? And so the fact that, as Christians, we need to forgive because we seek forgiveness.
Oh, that's so important. You're so right about that. Forgiveness is a really big factor that, not only you have to forgive others, but you have to forgive yourself.
Ooh, that's a big one for me.
Yeah, forgiveness.
Look in the mirror and say, I accept that I made mistakes.
Correct.
I'm sorry, I feel bad about them, but now I'm not going to live in that mud anymore. I'm going to wash it off and march forward.
Yeah, I agree. So it's been. I've really enjoyed this kind of.
Yeah, we'll have more of them.
Definitely looking forward to it.
Look forward to future episodes together, and I think that there's going to be a lot of dynamic power and two strong but good-hearted Greeks coming together.
Definitely,
right? Because this is how we build a community, right? It's two people at a time. How can people find you online or work with you?
Well, it's very simple. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. Our website for our self-storage broker team is the Bledsoe selfstoragegroup.com, or you can reach me on my cell phone, 215-850-0450. Again, you can call me, text me. I'm an open book. I would love to help in any way, shape, or form that I can, so don't hesitate to reach out.
No. All right. Since we're sharing numbers, I'll share my business line, 3054-RELEASE. That's 473-5433. Call or text anytime. Tell me what your problem, tell me what your situation is. And we're here to build a solution. This is Andreas builds solutions for his clientele.
Correct.
So thank you, my brother.
Thank you.
It's been an awesome time. I look forward to future conversations together.
Definitely. Same here. Thank you so much.
Thanks for being on the Relief Podcast.
All right.